Hello, this is Stampy, and welcome to a special video in which I'm going to explain how I managed to fly to the moon. In one of my recent Let's Plays called Trip to the Moon, appropriately, I was able to fly my rocket to the moon and back. And as I'm recording this commentary, I have no idea what the response will be because that video is not online yet. But I'm assuming there's going to be a bunch of people commenting and asking me how I managed to fly to the moon. So this is going to be kind of like a behind the scenes making of for how I managed to edit it, so I kind of looked like I was taking off from my world and going to the moon. I first want to say that obviously it's all editing tricks. I don't actually move the rocket or go to the moon. I'm sure the majority did realise that, but just in case a few of you did think that it's some sort of mod or, I don't know, some hack or something like that along those lines, or some amazing redstone, no, it is all just done through editing, but you'll all understand exactly how I did it in a few minutes. But I suppose I should start off by saying how the moon was able to be in the first place, how I built the moon. And it is built. I don't use the end or anything like that like some people might have thought. It's all just placed by hand. I had a super flat world and I built on top of it the surface of the moon, just with end stone, a bunch of rocks and craters and sort of mountains and stuff to make it look like the moon. And it took a very long time. It probably took about 3 months ago, I think I started it. Maybe slightly less than that, but I didn't build it very regularly. It's just whenever I had some spare time or I'm just sitting on the Xbox, I'd load it up and start placing blocks. I'd often have like a film on my TV or just some YouTube videos and be like watching that while mindlessly placing blocks. And I did have quite a lot of help as well. Some of my friends that you might have seen from my videos, Alpha Lee did a huge amount of help with it. Squid also helped out quite a lot, as well as a bunch of other people. I don't want to name through them all because there were so many people, I don't want to miss anyone out. But I did leave down an area where I asked people to put down a sign if they helped. So I'm going to quickly pan across here. So yeah, all of these people helped in some way building the moon, or maybe they just joined and put down a sign, I don't know. There's quite a lot of people that just sort of played around and was building their own things on the moon, which I had to get rid of, or making a bakery and all sorts of other funny stuff. So we did have a laugh while we were building this, but it's just a massive area of end stone, which is meant to look like the surface of the moon. So that was relatively simple. I also had to build my rocket again, which sounds quite simple, but it was a bit annoying having to keep going back and looking through my old videos to try and get all the blocks exactly to the right, and like I filled up all of the chests with all of the same items and everything, so recreating the rocket took a little bit longer than you might expect, although it was much easier building it in creative mode rather than survival like I had to on my lovely world. So I did it. I now have my moon. All I need to do now is try and find a way of getting to it. And so what I did is I started a Let's Play like I normally did. I had my friend Afro Dan in the game with his gamertag off hiding, but apart from that, I started the Let's Play in the exact same way as I always do, although we did have one false start in which I just do a very bad intro, and I'm just going to play that for you now. Hello, this is Stampy, and welcome to a Minecraft Let's Play video. This is a video inside of Stampy's lovely world. And oh look, we got the sunset. I started the video for once as the sun is going down rather than the sun just having gone up. And today's a very special day. Today is a very exciting day because today is the day in which I launch my rocket. And I realised I said day about 8 times there within 10 seconds. But it doesn't matter. Today is the day in which... I'm starting that again. So as you heard there, I am far from perfect, and I do sometimes muck up my intro and kind of just make me laugh. It was a bit weird because Dan was in the party with me, so he could hear me, and I found it a bit awkward knowing that someone was just listening to me, and I think it kind of made me muck up. But I started again, and that was what you heard in the actual Let's Play, assuming you saw the video, which wasn't the best commentary in the world, but I kind of had a lot of things in the back of my mind, so I mucked up quite a lot of my words and stuff. But yeah, I did the Let's Play as I normally would. I went and got a dog, I went and did the love garden, I went into the moon, I sort of made up quite a lot of things about like having to put fuel in the furnace, which was kind of setting me up for later on for when I have to go and gather the cheese. And kind of all of my Let's Plays, like my last 4 or so Let's Plays, have been building up to the moon. The whole reason I built the rocket and I made up the thing about having to power it with food, and I built the little area at the top where the aliens could hide in, like everything was building up to me doing this video going to the moon. I wasn't just building a rocket for the fun of it. So yeah, kind of the making of should incorporate all of those videos and not just that one video. But anyway, the bit you all want to know about, the time when I launch. So what I do is when I go up to where I'm going to launch, I stand in front of the window and I say, right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're going to launch. And I go, woo, as if I'm actually launching, even though I'm not moving. I switch the lever and then I stay exactly still. I don't move at all. I do switch over into flying mode using host privileges. But then I immediately fly back down to the same position. And then Afro Dan, who was hiding in my mushroom farm, I believe, comes out and actually destroys the rocket ship around me. He destroys everything in front of me. He destroys much of the area above me. You can see how much he destroyed. And he had to do this in survival while being very careful not to knock me. So it's not as easy as you might think. And then once that was all destroyed and it got to night with the moon behind me, I just flew directly up. So I just flew without any rocket in front of me. I just went straight up into the sky for a while and then came back down. And then what I did is I took a screenshot of the rocket foreground, like the lever and the window and stuff, and I cut out round it where the window is to where you'd see the background. And I cut that out in Photoshop, and I also had to add in the lines. Around the lever, there's sort of a black line around it, like a cube. I also had to add those lines back in, so it was a bit awkward trying to cut them out. And I then overlaid that image with the background cut out over the video of me flying directly up. And it didn't quite work. It almost works, but the problem is when you go to flying mode, it kind of zooms out your point of view a bit. It's a bit like when you have a swiftness potion, you can kind of see a wider field of view than normal. So I had to kind of zoom in some stuff and zoom out on the other video, and the whole video as a whole is slightly more zoomed in, just so I could try and line things up better. But I got it as good as I could, and then I just fly directly up, and then I have the rocket over it, which kind of makes it look like I'm taking off in the rocket. And I then added in a lot of sound effects. I did the sound of an engine, I did the sound of the thruster, which is actually just brown noise with a whole load of static that I kind of edited. And I also got some music, which I actually bought, some royalty-free music from a website called Jewel Beat, and all of that kind of just added it all together to add a bit more of a spacey and probably a bit more of a dramatic feel as I take off. But the difficult bit was then landing on the moon, because at the moment I was kind of just flying in the sky and I needed a way to get from the sky above my lovely world down onto the moon. And so the way I did that is, as you know, I built the rocket the same on the moon. I loaded up that world in creative. I destroyed everything in front of me exactly the same as Dan did in the first world, and I had Lee helping me with this as well. And I then went up into the I then stood in the exact same place, lining myself up on the window as to how I was in my lovely world. I flew directly up in the air and then directly back down, and then I faded from one video to the other while I was in midair. So that way you can kind of see, but not really. It kind of just looks like the stars are twinkling as they fade from one to the other. And so that's the transition point from when I've got to my lovely world to the moon. I then fly directly down and just stand still. But the problem is, of course, everything in front of me is still all destroyed and mucked up. So I have to overlay that same image in front of me. And then I kind of just turn a bit. And as I turn, I use that as the cutting point to go back to the gameplay of me on the moon. Because I ended the game and had to load it back up again, this time in survival, try and line up my head in the exact same place, and then start the Let's Play as I normally would, kind of just carrying on as if nothing's happened. And then I can sort of turn around and go round on the rocket. And hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully what you're seeing on screen will display better what it is that I actually did rather than what I'm saying. Because I think I made it sound more confusing than it was. And it was relatively confusing. And it worked almost. It almost looked perfect. But there's a few things that were sort of out of my control. The way the POV changes. Also some of the textures on the lever and like the wall in front of me kind of looked a bit different, and I sort of altered the contrast and stuff and tried to level it out as much as I could. But if you go back and watch really carefully, you can see where it is that I cut. Also, the sword I was holding was actually enchanted, and because it's just a picture overlay, I couldn't actually get the same effect of it being enchanted, which mucked it up. But apart from that, it did kind of look like I landed on the moon. And so what I did is I played back my original commentary and then just carried on speaking from it as if like I hadn't stopped speaking. That way you can't really tell that I've stopped recording my voice and started it again. And once again, things didn't go quite so smoothly when I started my commentary. There was a whole big build-up. We were waiting for ages for us to start. We had to wait for it so it was just becoming night. And the second it was about to become night, it started raining. and we're like, oh no, we had to wait for it to stop raining, wait a whole nother day, and then the second it was about to be night again, I started my commentary, and this happened. Have you been spending a week pretending to be an alien just to get into character, like while serving petrol? Don't understand. Beep, 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 boop, beep, boop, boop. Okay. Do that anyway. Bye. Hello, this is Stampy Longnose. Welcome to my rocket ship. Okay, well I was going to use this bit for the making of. Woo! Stay muted, stay muted. And of... Oh no! What the hell? What the hell? Oh my god. The second I started to speak. 2 nights in a row. As you heard, we all found it quite funny at the time, but about a minute later we realised we'd have to wait for a whole entire night and whole entire day for it to stop raining again, and it was a bit annoying. But luckily, the day after didn't rain, and I did the Let's Play okay, and it was usable, but it wasn't perfect. Like the first take, there's a few problems. I think I took too long building the flag. I kind of mucked up building it. And also it became day, which sort of ruined the whole illusion of being on the moon. It really needed to be night so you can see all the stars and like the dark sky above you. I kind of made up a reason as to why I could see another moon. I pretended that was me seeing my lovely world, but I kind of said it with a bit of a nudge and a wink to sort of say, yeah, that is obviously the moon. And also when I tried to get back to the spaceship, you could also see Dan, who was one of the aliens, sort of trying to pile his way up onto the spaceship, and it kind of worked, but I don't think I blagged it that well, so we did do it another time. So yeah, it was basically just Dan and Lee were playing the aliens, and I just instructed them to follow round behind me and just stare at me and just be a little bit weird, and I think they pulled that off very well. And if you didn't notice, they did actually sneak onto the rocket ship, and they did follow me back to my lovely world, so maybe we'll be seeing a little bit more from them in the future. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see, we'll see. And yeah, it went pretty smoothly. It was quite awkward trying to get my quick select bar and my inventory exactly the same because some of my weapons and tools and that were slightly deteriorated. So I actually had to go and get my spade and destroy a load of ground, and they would destroy my sword and stuff to sort of try and make it line up just right. I also had to give myself the exact right level and the exact right amount of XP so it would cut fine, but yeah, I was kind of happy with how the Let's Play went on the moon, and it was, as I said, kind of improvised. Like, obviously, as a whole, the video was quite planned, but I was still doing it live, and I was still doing it in the same way that I always do, just playing around, having an overall idea of what activities I want to do, but in terms of what I'm saying and what could happen spontaneously, I'd kind of just go with it and see what the aliens did and that. And yeah, I think that way it sort of kept the essence of one of my more standard Let's Plays in which I could be building something in my world. And then it got to the difficult moment, in which I had to go back to my lovely world, which was kind of awkward transitioning it straight from that moon video where the beginning of the video I was landing and the end of the video I was taking off. You know, there was two very important parts at the beginning and end of that particular clip. So I basically did it in the exact same way I got there. I got to the end of the video, I stood exactly still, I shouted as if I'm going to take off, I did my big countdown again, and then I stayed exactly still. This time it was Lee and Dan destroyed the ship. I flew directly up when it was night. I did the same thing of taking a screenshot, cutting out all around the window, which takes ages and is really laborious, by the way. Added in the little black lines again to try and make it look realistic, and then did the same thing on my lovely world again, having to destroy the ship and fly down and then cut it again as if I'm going off, and it took absolutely ages. As a whole, for just recording, not including any like editing or planning, it probably took about 5 hours of filming video and commentary. Had a load of different takes and stuff. The last thing for me to do was just sort of sign off the video, in which I kind of just walked out the spaceship and said, oh, like, welcome back to my lovely world, like, hello moo-moos, hello piggywigs, everything like that, and then I signed off the video. So that bit was pretty easy to do. There were a few problems with it, like the fact that I destroyed my door, but I forgot to destroy it again, and also my dog, the Arbiter, was in a different place because we hadn't saved, obviously, for when we destroyed the ship. So there's a few things out of place and some stuff in my inventory that might not be exactly the same that you may have noticed, but overall, I think I did kind of create the illusion of me flying to the moon and back, and it's my first time really doing anything like this, and it was a good fun to make, and hopefully you all enjoyed the video. So yeah, I want to give a big thanks to everyone that helped me in the video, especially Afro Dan and Elfa Lee, who stuck with me for pretty much the entire 5 hours. Dan did anyway. Lee joined us a little bit later on, so I really do appreciate all the help they gave me. Also everyone else that helped me build the moon, and stay tuned, by the way, because that isn't the end of the moon. I might not be going back there in another Let's Play, but the surface of the moon, that map, is going to be used in something else, a mystery thing, which may not even be a video, which will be coming soon to my channel, so definitely stay tuned for that. But sadly, that's the end of this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this kind of behind the scenes video for how I managed to fly to the moon and back. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you later. Goodbye.